Peace and welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network, folks. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for checking in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First up, let's talk about what's happening out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, as it's now been seen and has been decided upon about a judge that the case for reparations for the former residents and descendants of survivors and victims of the Tulsa massacre can move forward to the next step. We'll be checking in with Dr. Ray Wimbush, who is an author and scholar of reparations, to get his insight about this issue. So we'll have that conversation up next. Also, let's talk about what Governor Larry Hogan said, where he talked about that we should be very careful about standing with extremes. Now, he was talking about it for the Republican Party. I'm asking the same thing. Can the same case or same question be asked for the Democratic Party? Are we gone to a place of extremes in this country? We'll have that conversation. And then later, we check in with Dory Taylor, who's going to talk about remaking learning in the country, as one organization is planning to make learning after the pandemic more accessible in 17 cities. We'll break down the whole campaign. So that and a whole lot more is coming up on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Are you ready to rock and roll? I am, so let's go. Folks, welcome to the show. I'm so happy and excited about some of the big conversations that we got lined up for you today, as we're going to jump into one of the big discussions around reparations. And this is coming out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, where there was a recent order about the Tulsa massacre, survivors and the victims of that massacre, and really what should be done? How should that situation be made accountable for those who are responsible? Now, this is the big question that has been looming over court cases for the past few years, not just the past 1 or 2. I'm talking about at least 20 years, folks, where the question has been asked, well, what about justice? What does justice look like in the case of the Tulsa massacre? And so today we wanted to have a conversation about this, because it was just announced earlier this week that Judge Caroline Wall said that the motion to dismiss this conversation, or to dismiss this motion where defendants sought a motion to dismiss the case where plaintiffs are seeking reparations, Judge Caroline Wall said that was granted in part and denied in part, which essentially means that the case can proceed and move forward as they are seeking justice for the victims and survivors of the Tulsa massacre. Now, one of the lawyers and the attorneys of the case, Mr. Solomon, let me make sure I'm getting his name correctly, Demario Solomon Simmons. He is a plaintiff. He's an attorney for the plaintiff in the case. And one of the things that he said is that there are only literally a handful of survivors left from the Tulsa massacre. And Keenan, let's put this quote on the screen. One of the things he said was this: when you work on something for 20 plus years, folks, check this out. You have defeat after defeat. You have client after client die. To know I have 3 living survivors that are here with me right now feel this partial victory, it means everything. Now, Mr. Solomon Simmons has been saying that he's been working with these clients, 3 of these clients that he has over the age of 100 years old. They have yet to receive any real justice, nor have they gotten any real evidence that something was going to be done about the Tulsa massacre. And it looks like this week, after all of this time, folks, this week, the judge says the case can move forward as they're fighting for reparations. Now, what does that mean? What does that look like? we are going to be joined in a few moments by Dr. Ray Winbush, but we wanted to bring New Culture crew member Kia Gladden into this conversation first to get her take on it, and then we bring in Dr. Winbush very quickly. But Kia, thank you again for checking in. You are an educator, you are a researcher. What does this mean for you? What do you take from this recent judgment from Judge Carolyn Wells?
So there's a lot of things that I have. My One of my biggest things that actually scares me about this is, um, without even trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but I'm trying to figure out why it is that they've been starting this case for a number of years, but particularly back in 2000, in the year 2000, right? And now we have only three survivors left, right? So at this point, what they are attempting to do is, it seems like, sort of waiting them out, because we have what, two that are 107, one that is 108. So that story is about to be not told anymore. And we already know about when it comes to Tulsa. Even in Tulsa, it's been a secret that no one told anyone about. So I'm just trying to figure out why all of a suddenly, is it trying to say in history, oh no, we were going to do something about this? Or is it saying, let's make it seem like we were going to do something about this, and, we no longer have any survivors to actually tell that story.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's the race against the clock that the attorney for the plaintiffs have been talking about, which is
And
why
dealing with.
and dealing with, right? One of the survivors, and
Yes.
I want to make sure I got her name correctly as well. She's about to turn 108 years
And
old,
eight.
and
Yes.
so her attorney said, "Hey, Can we make a decision quickly because her birthday is coming up on the May the 10th, and
Right.
we want to make sure that she can be around for this.
Know
Like
her
this would be a
story.
great birthday
Exactly.
gift for her."
Because it
So
would be
it's going
really,
to be
really.
very interesting. I want to bring in Dr. Ray Winbush, who is
Sure.
an author. He is a scholar. He's a researcher and a professor, and he's director of the Urban Institute at Morgan State University. Dr. Winbush, always a great pleasure to have you as part of these conversations. How are you this afternoon?
Good to see you.
Good, good. Dr. Winbush, you've been dealing with and working on the issue of reparations for at least 30 years. But one of the things that we're seeing from this Tulsa massacre, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Doc, I have not heard Tulsa being brought into the conversation of reparations. I did not know that that was a goal for this unfortunate, tragic part of our history. I did not know that they were asking for reparations. I know that they was asking for justice, but I didn't know specifically they were asking for reparations. How did that happen?
Well, it happened, as you said earlier, the Tulsa reparations case has been going on for at least 20 years. Um, People forget that Johnny Cochran, the late Johnny Cochran, was one of the lawyers for the plaintiffs in the case, as well as Charles Ogletree, who teaches at Harvard. And, Brother Ogletree, we call him Tree, he's now suffering from Alzheimer's. So this is a case that is long overdue. Uh, I remember when Sister Viola Fletcher was in her late 80s, and people were saying, we've got to do this quickly. And now, as you say, next week she turns 108. Uh, Leslie Randall, she's 107, and Hughes Van Ellis is 101. And so we've always looked at the Tulsa case as being a critical case. I first learned about it, and it's important to note this, that John Hope Franklin was my professor at University of Chicago a long time ago, millions of years ago, when I was working on my degree. And his father, Buck Franklin, was the attorney for the victims of the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre in 1921. They would not let them sue then. And the judge 20 years ago told them, well, we don't think that the effects of the 21 riot are still being felt, which is a lie, of course. So that Judge Wall moved this forward is a major victory, major victories.
So there was a part of this, Dr. Winbush, that I thought that was interesting, which was the not the attorney for the plaintiffs, but I guess the prosecutor. And I want to make sure that we bring up the fact that this prosecutor, John Tucker, he's representing the Tulsa chamber, and basically he was trying to make the case that what happened 100 years ago, it really, and they call it, they looked at the I guess the charge as public nuisance. So before I get to his case, I want to get your understanding of this and help us to understand.
Well,
they're saying that public nuisance in what regard?
Well, see, we've tried every angle on this, just every angle on this. The idea that Brother DeMario, the lawyer for the plaintiffs now, is saying is that it was a nuisance. And this, you got to understand the word nuisance is a broad legal term.
Yeah.
That what happened in 1921 damaged the community. It was a nuisance to the community. I mean, that's an understatement.
Right.
It was a massacre, but under the law, it's the last thing that you can actually do in this case. That's why this case was so important. And I think the sister said earlier, and it's very true, and it's not a conspiracy theory. They are trying to wait out till all of the victims of the massacre have died. I remember when testimony before the House back in like 2005 or 2006, there were something like 20 survivors of the massacre. Now
Yes.
we're down to 3.
Yes.
And what's really interesting, I'll say this and I'll shut up. J.T. Tucker, the mayor of Tulsa, he was so, excited about building the park, apologizing and everything. But he is one of the persons opposed to reparations, including also including the guy that you just mentioned, the head of the Chamber of Commerce. There's 7 defendants in this case, and both the mayor as well as the head of the Chamber of Commerce are one of them.
So Mr. Tucker said that that the massacre happened too long ago to warrant a charge of public nuisance, and that the courts need to really look at and evaluate how much of the law behind public nuisance would extend to cover a circumstance like this. So how do you think that would play out in the next step of this whole process, Doc?
Well, I think they're going to be able to prove this. We really have confidence in this lawsuit. If you can imagine for a moment, there was a major uprising in Atlanta, Georgia in 1906. In fact, W.B. Du Bois was living there at that time. Now we see Atlanta, what do they call it? The Black Mecca. Film studios there, Black middle class, solidly, Black mayor, so forth. That would have been Tulsa had not the massacre occurred. Instead of us saying we're all going to go to Atlanta to live, we would have all been saying we're going to go to Tulsa to live.
Facts.
And so, the mayor doesn't have a leg to stand on. It's amazing that when it comes to white history, we want to remember it and still see it as important. So most recently, we celebrate the impact of 9/11 right now. We always talk about remember the Alamo. We have Memorial Day, what happens on the 4th of July. But when it comes to Black suffering, we want to say, well, that's over with. Yeah, slavery was bad. What happened in Tulsa was bad, but that's over with. That happened 100 years ago. So when it comes to Black suffering, we want to get through with it quickly.
Yeah, very, very much, very much. And Nakia, when we talking about that level of Black suffering, I mean, it was brought up during this recent court trial that this massacre was likened to an oil spill.
Yes.
That that you won't, like, just like any, and I remember when they had the Valdez oil spill years ago and all of those oil spills, like, you really can't wrap your head or your mind around how much of an impact that had on the environment. And that's the same way that folks presented what happened 100 years ago to the courts, that there are generations with an S that
Sure.
have been affected by this massacre that happened on May 31st through June the 1st.
So
And
I read
so do you think that's a strong defense?
Absolutely not. I mean, to compare, well, I wouldn't consider it like a natural disaster. Obviously, an oil spill is not necessarily a natural disaster, but in terms of comparing human on human, that's utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
To compare those two, and it's actually offensive, and it's offensive to the descendants of those who did suffer through that. I got to listen to the story earlier today, of the three survivors, and to hear their story and to see that she said, I think about this every day. You know, they saw bloodshed, and for what reason? So we can go back to the reason of how this whole entire thing happened, because a young black man went into a elevator, and it was a white young woman, and she was operating the elevator, and then she screamed, and then all of a suddenly it was just bloodshed. So we can go back to the history of that, but the idea to equate those two is utterly ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to reparations, and I read a quote earlier today where it says that reparations, if we were to replace the word, because it's much like welfare, because it's really easy to make it seem like, welfare is bad because for some odd reason, quote unquote, it's associated with black people, but then also with reparations. But it said reparations is to replace the wealth that racism stole.
Mm.
So reparations is not a bad thing. It just has a bad connotation when you use that word. I don't know how to rephrase it, because our government, I'll say that, has allowed it to become a negative connotation, much like they did with welfare.
Well,
And
I
that's
think,
my problem.
I think part of that, the reason that that becomes such a touchy point, touchy subject, Nakia, is the fact that people don't want this country. Like this country, we have a terrible, terrible history of taking ownership of the stuff that we've done bad to people, on how we made violations. Like reparations to a lot of people is another word for justice.
Absolutely.
And really, who wants to be held accountable for some violations that they know that they're wrong for? I mean, this is and I saw this, Dr. Winbush, that when we have this conversation about Tulsa, when we have this conversation about the transatlantic slave trade, it comes down to the fact that America does not want to face the reality that it was the source of pain, hurt, generational division, familial division. I mean, America just doesn't want to come forward and say, you know what, we did that. We did this.
You're exactly correct. And it's amazing how the system of white supremacy can weaponize words. So right now we see the word woke. I remember just 7, 8 years ago, that was a positive term, but now it's a negative term. Affirmative action. I'm thinking of reparations. These are words that were positive, but the system of white supremacy can make us start thinking negatively about it.
Yeah.
That's why people within the struggle, we have used terms like compensatory justice or historical compensatory justice. But the bottom line is to repair the damage done by a system of white supremacy. And what would Tulsa have been had it not had this massacre? It would have been like Atlanta is today.
Yes, absolutely right.
Absolutely.
Taylor, I'm sorry, Janelle first said, Farajii, oil spills are considered accidents. The Tulsa massacre was a deliberate onslaught of evil.
Absolutely.
Facts.
Right.
I mean,
and here's the thing that's really, really crazy about that whole situation is that they had airplanes and dropping bombs. That doesn't sound like
that's not an accident.
it didn't sound like an accident at all.
It
Period.
is the biggest terrorist act that was ever committed on American soil. People talk about the bombing of Timothy McVeigh, 20 years ago.
Oh yeah,
This was the single biggest terrorist act ever perpetrated against Americans by Americans in this
absolutely.
country.
Wow. And I
Agreed.
think people need to hear it just as that, Doc. Taylor said, I hope at the age of the defendants that there are not others in the wings waiting to take control of anything they may get. Concern for seniors is real. How do we, and I think that Taylor, I appreciate you bringing up that comment because, Doc, when you're talking about reparations for the survivors, the victims, the descendants, like now we're talking about getting into the nuts and bolts of how this is going to happen, whether it's coming from a state level or whether it's coming from the federal level. What would be the course of action that the state of Oklahoma or the United States government would have to take if it's decided upon that yes, they are allowed to get reparations?
Well, I have, and this is not an endorsement, but Demario Solomon Simmons is one of the best litigators on reparations existing right now. He has covered all the bases. His mentor was Johnny Cochran and
Wow.
Charles Ogletree. He knows that there's a potential because I've had people ask me about the reparations. Well, these people may not be around in a couple of years. What's going to happen to the money? Look, Demario got this under control, and just like we know, we have to trust what he's doing right now, and he's making sure that none of that happens. He is on the case.
And that's one of the big things that I think that people are looking at, Doc and Nikhil, because people are trying to figure out, okay, if this goes through, then this might set the precedent for other
Exactly.
racial incidents that have occurred on American soil by white people, by other people against black people.
That's
This
right.
will open up a Pandora's box, Doc.
I will say this: the mayor is saying, like, although he's made it seem like he's stressing that this is something that he cares about. The problem is that he's also saying that, okay, well, it's not fair to charge the descendants of those that happened before because this is 100 years ago. How can we charge them tax wise and all those things? So, and that's been a problem with reparations for a long time. It's like, okay, well, I didn't do it, I wasn't here, but no, but you benefited from it. You killed our wealth in the process. So we have every right to come after the wealth that you were able to benefit from, if that makes any sense.
It makes a lot of sense. And we have to remember that very, very radical left-wing president, Ronald Reagan, gave reparations to Japanese Americans.
Yes.
Even though in 1988, 40-something odd years prior, for an incident. The idea of reparations, America has recognized that it owes something to people it has wronged. Even Abraham Lincoln said, after us being enslaved for 250 years, saying, we've got to give them 40 acres and a mule. So people recognize that historical injustices have to be rectified by current generations. And this is what the reparations lawsuit in Oklahoma is all about.
Absolutely. Doc, I know we this conversation is an ongoing discussion, but is there anything that you would recommend that we keep our eyes on as it relates to this case? And I know the last time you were on, you were saying that the state of New York is looking to bring together a commission as well, like we saw in California. What's the update with that as well?
Well, the update with that is that Governor Cuomo is no longer in power, and we're trying, it's again how. Well, don't let me get started, but let me put it this way. Keep an eye on New York. We're still working on it. Roger Wareham, an attorney and a good friend of mine, he is still working to get that under the new governor. Definitely keep your eyes on the California lawsuit, which we lost a couple of weeks ago in terms of how they voted this whole lineage stuff, which is
Right.
more about ADOS. So I would say, and of course, the Tulsa case as well. Those are the three that I'm looking at right now.
All right. Dr. Ray Winbush, who serves as the director of the Institute for Urban Research at Morgan State University. He's an author. He's a scholar. Doc, we always appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Keep up the good work. You too.
Nice meeting you.
All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about what Governor Larry Hogan had to say about extremes in the United States, and starting with his own party. And now I'm asking the question, well, what about Democrats? Are Democrats prone to fall into a place of extremities? We'll have that conversation with Culture Crew member Nakia Gladden. So stay with us. That is coming up in the second 30 of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punching!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Let's talk a little bit about extremes in this country. Now, we're seeing a country that's becoming more and more divided and more partisan. And it's gotten to a point where the laws and the policies that we want to see move forward are installed. It's gotten to a point where we can't even communicate with one another. And even has gone as far as people literally moving out of cities to live around people who are like-minded in their political views. That is actual fact, folks. So we are at that place. So today I wanted to have a conversation about when you go too far in your political views, being an extremist, quote unquote. Governor Larry Hogan, who is the Republican governor here for the state of Maryland, he urged the voters to stand up against the extremes. Let me share with you what Governor had to say. Check this out, folks. He said, and this is where he was talking about his own party, we need to stand against the extremes and for the majority of Americans. He said, we need a hopeful, positive vision for America and a message that appeals to a broader group of voters. A party that lost the popular vote in 7 out of the last 8 presidential elections and that couldn't even beat Joe Biden is desperately in need of a course correction. The truth is, the last election was not rigged and it wasn't stolen. We simply didn't offer the majority of voters what they were looking for. Again, that's from Governor Larry Hogan of the state of Maryland. I want to bring in Culture Crew member Nakia Gladden back into the conversation to talk about the importance of not going too far left or right. But then, as Governor Hogan said, Nakia, that he warns his own party, and he's not a Trumper, but he warns his own party about going into extremes. It made me ask the question: well, would that same idea apply to Democrats? Because now we're seeing Democrats are being far left. You know, what's your take on what the governor had to say about this?
So it kind of harpens back to what we just talked about in terms of where you can take a word and make it or demonize it. I don't necessarily know what he means by extremes. I don't know. I know that, and I'm not going to say what party I subscribe to. I'm pretty sure it's, obvious. But the fact of the matter is that extreme, you don't see Democrats going out and, storming the Capitol. So to me, that's extreme. That's what extreme would mean to me. However, is it okay for us to have a point of view? Yes. Can we relay that point of view in a better way? Possibly, hopefully, if we have the policies that we are trying to, and we know or we believe that this will make America a greater or better place.
Mm-hmm. And so and for me, it seems like, we've been beating a dead horse in some ways, right? The GOP has gone crazy. Let's just say it, right? I mean, let's keep it real. You have never, and people, it's sad. I'm gonna say it like this, Nakia.
I'm sorry.
It's sad when people are fantasizing and wishing upon a star that the GOP was like the old GOP, as if the old GOP really gave a damn about black and brown and the poor.
Ever.
Okay, so when you wish that they, like, man, I mean, I wish that the Republicans would like the ways they back in the 80s and the 90s. They were still a problem.
The fact
right for black folks. I mean, let's keep it real. Like, you know what I mean?
And that's facts. The fact of the matter is,
so now we in this extreme place, and we're waiting. So we went from Satan, and like, I wish, man, we in a satanic space. Now we asking man, where's the devil at? I want the devil again. Like, what the hell is going on? I just don't get it. I don't get it. Now, on the flip side of that, right, we're seeing something happening with the Democratic Party. And the extreme is you want to have this quote unquote moral conscience all of a sudden at the most urgent time in our history.
And that's what's really, really like frustrating to me, because what they're trying to make it seem like, it's like, okay, so we went crazy, but now y'all trying to be moral. And it's like, yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to be. We always have been, for the most part. We always have been. We care about people. And even though for some odd reason, and we know this from the TV shows that we watch, we know conflict makes more sense. Conflict is what attracts people the most. Does it make it right? No. But Democrats have always stuck on the, okay, healthcare for people, healthcare for all, excuse me, welfare when it's necessary, even Roe versus Wade. And we didn't even talk about that. And I wanted to see if you were going to touch on that.
We had a whole hour yesterday. We talked a little bit about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because that's
we had a whole hour yesterday.
Yeah. All those things. I mean, the fact of the matter is that it's always been about people as opposed to, just about out for, rich white people. Can I say that?
Yeah, I mean, you're on Black Star Network. we keep it real. I mean,
I'm
seriously.
just saying.
We've been
So
unapologetic, and there's nothing wrong with saying it. Let me just say, there's nothing wrong with saying it.
Right. Don't call what we say, what we do extreme to me. No,
this is not extreme.
Right. It's not extreme. Let's look up in a dictionary what extreme means. When you climb up on our Capitol, that's extreme. Name the last time you seen some crazy stuff like that happen.
I get that. Now, see, that's extreme, right? And I totally understand that. But then when you, and like I say, I think to Governor Hogan's point, yes, your party, they straight out of their minds right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even want the party of Reagan. I want y'all to figure out if y'all like human beings or something. I mean, I don't know. But then the other side of it, and I'm serious, it's like the people are asking for the Democrats to go into a certain space, to be in a certain space.
Yeah.
And I think, and this is the unfortunate part. We have taken former First Ladies Michelle Obama's advice, recommendation too damn far.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When they go low, we go high. No.
So should we go extreme? And what does that look like?
The time that we live in, it necessitates us to have urgent action. It necessitates us to be very intentional and deliberate, and at the same time to commit an action with great force and power. Right?
But what does that look like, Farajii?
What does that look like?
Yeah.
I mean, look, that looks like the president of the majority party using his bully pulpit and said, okay, y'all not getting voting rights across? All right, I'm going to make it an executive order. Y'all not going to move on this George Floyd Justice for Policing Act? We got to figure out an executive order. That's what that looks like. That looks like having the testicular fortitude to be able to put your foot down and say, you know what, enough is enough. I'm not going to try. And I see how you plan it. You laughing. Like, it's
so
like,
you know what I'm saying? Fortitude.
Yeah,
Okay.
Exactly. But it's about not just saying, okay, I want everybody all in on every single idea. We need a consensus. We have
to actually go in. The
American people. Right. The American people.
But you do realize that Governor Hogan is a Republican. So
I know I know he's a Republican.
I'm pretty sure that you are fully well known. I mean, I don't know. I just wanted to make sure that everyone else was known or knew about it. But he's a Republican. So for him to say that, it's like it's something that needs to come from Nancy Pelosi or someone like that. That is, you're going to speak to me.
I think it comes better from Governor Hogan because he's a Republican. I think,
but he was talking to us.
No, he's talking about his colleagues. He's talking about his other Republican friends.
Okay,
he knows the GOP is gone wild. You know what I mean? He already knows that.
Yeah. So you don't think he's talking to constituents at all?
I mean, yes. I think he's definitely talking to some constituents. Say it again.
I said there was a little bit of that in there too. I understand because I mean, obviously he has to dial back. What is her name? Because I can't even stand this woman enough to even talk about it. But Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sarah Palin is now running. They have a whole lot of things going on over there. He needs to talk to them. So I totally get it. And honestly,
and here's the thing, and this is why I wanted to have the conversation is because I think for all of us in this country, we have to figure out where we stand. Right? And if you're a part of the Republican or the Democratic Party, you have to figure out that, okay, what am I willing to do and what am I, willing to move forward on and what am I not willing to move forward on? What am I willing to fight for and what I'm not willing to fight for? And I think that's what the governor is saying. Like, I get it. Like, you do have to stand up to extremes because at the root of extreme thought or extreme action is dissatisfaction.
My thing is that I feel like now that we have all gotten to the point of just everyone on this side and that side, some more extreme, obviously, than others. I think it's going to be a level of exhaustion. Like, what are we fighting for? Are we all fighting just to make it so that we are okay, humanity wise, that we all can feed our kids, that our gas prices are not $4.29? I think that's what it is now. And I think I talked to my aunt in California, and it's like $6 there. Which what? We all are fighting for the same thing.
Are we?
In terms of the extremes, I feel like the more extreme, eventually everyone is just going to get burnt out and frustrated and say, how do we fix this?
Well, here's the thing. And I think that I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one.
That sounds like fantasy, right?
The reason, yes, it does. It sounds like you're in a dystopian reality.
The euphoria of it all.
You in an Afro future, sis.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
No. But here's the thing. I think that I'm not sure if we are all fighting for the same thing. Every day, as much as people say that they want, freedom, justice, and equality, life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness, that looks very, very different from from person to person. I truly believe that.
I agree with you.
I think that, look, hell, we can go and say in the Black community, freedom, justice, and equality, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, all are different things. We just had a conversation about reparations.
Yeah.
Something as common as repairing the damage that was done to Black people in this country. When you talk to Black people about reparations, we all have varying ideas about how to repair that damage, what will be sufficient to repair that damage.
That's the people, the only people that are attempting.
We're living in a very, very individualized America in this country, right? Like we're living at a place where the individual interest has taken over the collective identity, the collective interest, where we have no sense of collective interest as of yet. I'm not saying we will never get it. I just truly believe we're not there yet because the culture doesn't speak to collective interest. The American ideal, the American dream, however you want to call it, the American experiment, it all speaks to relative too, making yourself great.
Yeah.
I mean, you can challenge me. I don't have a problem with that. I just don't think that we're fighting for the same thing anymore.
But that's the thing. Do we even know what we're fighting for? I mean, we're fighting from past. We're fighting from past stuff. We're fighting for present things, and we're also fighting for future things because we're fighting for our kids. So this struggle is real, and I have no idea. But if you're telling me that if you're calling me extreme when it comes to what I'm fighting for now, what I'm fighting for my past, and what I'm fighting for in terms of my future, in terms of my kids, then call me extreme. I'm okay with it.
Well, everybody's fighting for your kids, right? Like we all that's probably the only common thing. We're all saying, oh, I'm gonna fight for my family, I'm gonna fight for what's right. Even the simple thing of what's right.
Right.
Is it right to discourage a woman from making a choice about her body? In your eyes, you might say, or in my eyes, we might say, that's not right.
Well, I'm a woman. So
right, and then woman. As a man, I'm going to say, that's not right. But in the eyes of some other individuals, and I'm not just talking about white people, I'm talking about just people in general.
People in general.
In the eyes of some people, they might say, well, that's up to the state on certain things.
Yeah.
That's what they would consider to be right.
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Like, is it right to deny people the ability and the exercise to cast a ballot? No, that's not right. But go to Texas, go to Florida, go to Georgia, go to some of these other states.
Go to Maryland.
Guess what? They think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even our view of what's right versus what's wrong is
and even the fact that you brought up voting in terms of extremists, they've been trying to take away our voting rights. They've tried to take away a whole lot of things. And I'm talking about one party in particular. We already know who it is, but they've been trying to take away our rights. If you want to call anyone extreme, it's obvious. Democrats are not trying to do that at all. And or independents. I guess we can like put Bernie Sanders in there somewhere, but no one is trying to do that. They are specifically, and Al Gore wrote a book, about the fact that what being as though that he worked in government obviously for a long time, and I happen to did so at the same time. But he said they bank on the ignorance of their constituents. They don't want you to vote. They don't want you to know. Because if they did, then the stupidity wouldn't work. And then somehow our media came into it, where then we had Fox News come up, and now we have, everything on the internet and stuff. And that just got really out of control. But they're banking on, let's keep them as stupid and, don't know what's going on as possible. And then they won't, because technically our Constitution says that we have a voice. So they say, let's take that voice away.
Absolutely. Now
and
here's
they've
another
been doing
point.
it for a long time.
I mean, they have been doing it for a long time. Let me share with you another thing that Governor Hogan mentioned. He said, quote, Joe Biden said he would govern from the center and unite the country, but instead he caters to the far left extremes of his party and flails from crisis to crisis, showing weakness to the world.
That's what makes me really upset with the Democratic Party. I'm going to say this first before I comment on that, is that for some odd reason, we have to come out and say we are centrist. We're going to unite everybody together. Republicans, they're like, no, we coming out guns blazing straight to the right. So why it is that Obama, I just had a conversation with someone earlier about this, where they were saying that Obama did the same thing. And I said, no, but he was policing, because his job was, as a teacher, I'll say this, like I have, because he was like, well, he didn't do anything for Black people. And I said, well, as a teacher, I have a body of students that are African Americans. I have some Latinos. I have some, Asians. So am I supposed to only teach to the Black people? No, I teach to the whole. So I felt like, for the most part, that's what Obama was trying to do, to say, no, I'm going to try to do something for everyone.
But here's my position. You already know what my position is.
I know.
But for those who don't know,
okay.
Mr. President, who gave you the mandate with a 92 or 95% of the Black vote went to President Obama in 2008? Who, unprecedented.
Absolutely.
Historic.
But Hillary Clinton got not as much, but really, really close.
What was not as much? What are you saying that wasn't as much?
Oh, not as high as what Obama got. But I'm just saying they were pretty close.
For which candidate you speaking of, though?
I said for Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton.
Yeah, but and they were close. I think you're right on that.
You have to realize he was not just working for Black people. He was working for the American people.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing. Like, you were close, but at the same time, that Black people gave this man a mandate with their ballot, with their vote, right? That when you got into office, you remember us. That's what we essentially said to President Obama.
I agree. But
You know what I'm
can you
saying?
say
When
that
you get into
he
office,
did not give us anything?
don't forget about those of us who never had a voice.
Well, me and you can argue about this all day.
Yeah. But that's what I'm just simply saying, that
no, I understand.
It's you know what I mean? Like there is a responsibility, and I think that, and this is the sad part.
But
and
had he done that, then he would have been called an extremist. He can't get anything passed if it doesn't pass through Congress, and then through the Senate, go back to Congress, go back through the Senate, and then he
I mean, I get that.
Yeah,
I get that.
So it's not as if he can just like write and be like,
I'm not
it's going to
expecting
be.
that. But at some point, it seemed like on certain issues,
right,
he stopped trying.
He could have been extreme.
Yeah.
Are you saying extreme is good?
Is it really? No, wait a minute. Hold on now. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. Is it extreme?
Again,
if you are a public official, right? If you are a public official,
yeah,
right? Is it extreme that you think about the interests of the people that you come from as well as represent? Is it extreme that you say, you know what, as a Black man, I'm gonna make sure that we put some policies in place that's going to preserve Black life? That's not extreme.
Oh, again.
And see, that's the bullshit. That's the bullshit that America be on. Like when President Kennedy was in office.
What I would view as extreme.
All right, let me just make this quick point real quick, McKim. Hold on. When President Kennedy was in office, if I'm not mistaken, he was Catholic. Right?
Say it again.
He was Catholic. President Kennedy.
He was what?
Catholic.
Yes.
So by him being Catholic, you don't think he looked out for the Catholic Church?
Oh, he had every. You really want to put those two things together?
I'm making a point that anytime, if we had an Irish president, you don't think he would look out for the Irish community?
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure he would. You
if
don't
the
think
Irish community was under attack,
a lot more than everybody else.
Right. If we had an Asian president, you don't think that if the recent attacks against that Asian president would not take a hard stand on protecting people of his community? That's
sure,
just natural.
But not as vocal. And same with any type of a Latino. I don't think that they would be as vocal. Much like him, he had to try his hardest to just stay in his lane. I'm not saying it's right. I mean, I would have went in there guns blazing, like, oh, y'all made me president. All right, let's go, Black people.
I mean, that's all I'm saying.
I would have done that.
Let me just, and this is the sad part, because it's not about throwing shade on President Obama. This is not about throwing shade on him. He said in himself in his new book that he said that he was trying to appeal. How did he put it? He said, I was trying to appeal to the morals of the opposing party. Right? He was trying to get the moral. He was trying to basically go high. My point is, and this is not, we saw a rash of killings of police officers killing Black men and women.
Yeah.
Really,
that's been
under his term.
Before Obama was even born.
It was always present, but it became really to the forefront of the national psyche.
We got to see it, but it was happening.
Well, we know that. Rodney King. We just celebrated. We just acknowledged 30 years ago. Yeah. We know that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like with the situation around the police killings, that happened under Obama.
The ones that were seen, I will say
the ones that were seen. Trayvon Martin, 2012, right?
And what did he do? He came out immediately with a hoodie on and was like, "This is not right." You think that Trump would have did that?
That's not enough.
What did you want him to do? Go in and shoot the what did you want? What was he supposed to do?
Man, use that bully pulpit. We should have had a Justice for Policing Act back in 2012.
I believe they tried to do a reform at
I know
that
he
time.
sent Attorney General Eric Holder out to the various police departments across the country. He did he did that. But I'm saying taking a hard stance, not just an emotional or moral stance. I'm talking about a hard stance. And that's not, and I mean, come on, man. You got little black boys and girls being shot down in the street by police happening so often, right? People are getting upset. People are protesting. People are marching. And you mean to say that you not just, and I know the position that he was in, but I'm just saying that was part of the reason why.
Let's bring it back to an end because I told you I have to go pick up my little bit.
I got
what
you.
I'm saying is that
would
you consider him?
I appreciate you.
Would you consider him an extremist had he done that?
No,
I wouldn't either. So that's why I said extreme. Saying someone is an extremist is a relative term. Extreme to me, however, is you storming and climbing up like monkeys.
That's extreme. But even in that, I understand that when white people or black people, when you get so upset because your injustice is not being addressed, your grievance is not being addressed, you will take irrational means to try to get some reconciliation.
I agree with that.
All right, Nakia Gladden, who is an educator, researcher, we appreciate you, newest member of the Culture Crew. Thank you, Nakia, for joining us.
See you soon.
All right, folks, I got to take a quick pause. When we come back, we're going to try to do something very, very different. We wanted to start to open up the space so that way we can get your questions, your comments, and let's have a little chit chat. You could talk to me, I can talk to you, but I want us to have a conversation about various issues. Now, I'm going to still stay on this part about extremes, right? Are we in a space that we should stand against extremes? And I want to get your take on it. I've been reading some of the comments from our Facebook and our YouTube page, and I want to get more of what you have to say. So, folks, I want you to post your questions, share your thoughts as we have this conversation. And we have this special segment about Ask Me Anything here on The Culture. So we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, we're going to get to your questions, share your thoughts, and get into some great conversation. So stay tuned for that. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, welcome back to the second hour of The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Folks, we're going to do something a little different. And we wanted to see how this goes and with the hope that we can do this more often where, you know, you have been watching a number of conversations that I've been having with various people, right? And, you know, we're able to just share just some of your thoughts and comments, but we haven't been able to fully engage you as the way that we want to. So we wanted to change that here on The Culture. By giving you an opportunity to pose your questions and let's have a conversation. A number of you, even after we finish a topic or a segment, many of you on the chat are still continuing the conversation, which I absolutely love and appreciate. But I wanted to at least give space and time to let you know that your voices truly, truly do matter. And that I wanted to, let's see if we can try to get some of your questions and your comments. Now, we got a few minutes today, and we're going to try this out. But I wanted to just start with this keep the conversation going about extremes, because I truly believe, as Governor Hogan said, that we have to evaluate where we are. Now, my culture crew member, Nikki Gladden, who just was with us, she shared with us some thoughts about, President Obama and his handling of things. Folks, I truly, truly believe that we are in a time where we do need to be intentional about our extremes. But here's what Karina, I see your message here. Karina Denise, you said, I don't believe the pressure we're applying to Biden now equates to what we should have applied to Obama and the entire administration at the time. We're culpable. Woo, in some of this. Ooh. Karina, I have to say, I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly, sis. I think we are culpable. I think that we assume, which is understandable, right? Like we as a community and as a people in this country, we really haven't had a full blown out like therapy session around what happened over those 8 years with President Obama and us as a people, right? We haven't processed all of that yet. We're still processing that. We're still processing the idea that we had a Black president for 8 years in recent history. And, it's like we're still trying to figure out the impact of that. Like, yes, we know he's a good person. We love his family and all of those things, but I'm talking about his policies. I'm talking about his ideas. I'm talking about his programs. I'm talking about, his use of the bully pulpit. We didn't put a lot of pressure on him because we assumed, understandably, that he was going to go into office doing the people's work, doing Black people's work. And you heard my colleague Nakia making a point that, no, it's not just about Black people and that he had to be the president. We all understand that. We all understand that. Look, man, we in the United States of America. We understand that. But it wouldn't have been extreme, in my point of view, folks. It would not have been extreme if the president did a couple of things. Now, not to say he didn't do anything, but the optics looked as if he didn't do as much for the people that he came from. And I'm saying that's crazy. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying that's crazy. We should have applied the pressure. We should have applied the pressure. We were so happy, and Karina, I'm sure you agree with this. We were just so happy to have a Black face and a beautiful Black family in the White House that we sort of kind of got blinded by all of that. And then instead of just saying, hey, all right, cool, we looked at them as celebrities versus them as public servants. And that's our fault. If we were to have a therapy session about our relationship with President Obama, we would have to come to some agreement that it wasn't, we allowed the president to kind of get a pass on some things that were near and dear to our hearts. Near and dear to our hearts. So I definitely agree with that. Let me see. Let me go to Brother King Lee. Brother King Lee, you sent a question about, let me make sure we have here. Here we go. I'm just taking okay, Brother King Lee, you said, ask me, do I have any views on Black separatism when it comes to land distribution in the United States? Look, let me tell you, Black separatism, if this country was truly, truly about giving justice, justice is recognizing that you've committed a violation and that you have a duty to repair the damage, right? Justice. Otherwise, whatever consequences that you garner as a result of that denial of your duty, those consequences, they're yours. You got to take full accountability, right? So it's about fair dealing. If this country wanted to treat us fairly, deal with us fairly, then the idea of 40 acres and a mule, I don't need an apology as much as you giving me something that is going to improve the quality of my life. If we had actually gotten 40 acres and a mule, the conversation of reparations would not be happening. Because I'm sure some of you are landowners. Y'all know how big an acre of land is. Just one or two or three of 40 acres. And you have a mule, which is used to help to till and cultivate the land. And we have received that during a time where our people were in tune with the land, like we were building on land. We didn't see land ownership as a burden. Do you know how much wealth that is to get fertile land? Oh my goodness. The conversation would be different in this country if we actually got 40 acres and a mule. Hell, if a small portion of us got 40 acres and a mule. Now, I'm also of the belief, folks, that look, if this situation between black and white don't work out, then, you know, and we're seeing it. And I know some people are like, man, are we really at that place? It's a disagreeable situation. Unless there is some very real changes that take place among white people to say we have done wrong. Unless the United States of America, the government of this country, says we have done wrong. See, black folks, we understand the wrong that has been done, right? We understand the wrong that has been done because we're the victims of it. We understand that the impact that it has made because we're still living with it. We understand all of that. The other folks don't understand that. They're not even at a place to confidently say, you know what, we've committed some wrong. And not only have we committed some wrong, we have damaged generations of black people as a result of that. And not only just that, we have taken advantage of the ignorance of black people. None of that is even happening. I mean, we're still look, the government has not even fully came out and say that the transatlantic slave trade was wrong. That enslaving a whole nation of people is wrong. We haven't even gotten there. We have not gotten there yet, folks. So if we can't even get to that place of just looking at it from historical aspect, look, we've been talking about it on this show. We've been talking about it. Brother Roland been talking about it on his show. Dr. Carr been talking about it on the Black Table. You can't even have a conversation about history, real history in the schools in some of these states. They're just in such a state of denial. We don't want to talk about it. We don't need to address it. We don't need to deal with it. So what is the last alternative if we can't live in peace? Come on. Janelle said, truth and reconciliation is not something the U.S. is interested in. Not at all. Not at all. The U.S. is not interested in two things. Let me add to that, Janelle. Truth, injustice, and reconciling. Because guess what? From the view of the United States government, I'm not going to apologize to a slave. I'm not going to apologize. And I know that may be harsh to some, but that's what it is. Sports, you brought up a question. Why doesn't RMU discuss black on black crime or dysgenics? I don't know, brother. I don't know. I mean, I know that when the time that I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered, we talked about black on black crime. So I'm not sure. Are you asking about it as a regular thing or anything? But I know we brought it up. Dr. Carr, Reese, we all talked about those things. So I'm not quite sure, brother. Let me take a look here. Really, Juanita Jennings, you said, really, what has America ever given black people? Had America ever admitted wrongdoing? To other people, To other people, yes. Yes, America has admitted wrongs to other people, but America has not fully admitted the wrong to us. America has not fully admitted the wrong to us at this point, folks. And that's the problem. That is the problem right now. They haven't, and here's to add to that. Not only has America not fully admitted their wrong to us, we have not forcefully demanded it. Because the moment that we start to, and have you noticed the trend in our culture? The moment that we start to, get a certain level of consciousness, something else kind of takes the wind out of our wings, right? Something just kind of diffuses us a little bit. There is something that's given. Let's look at what just happened recently with 2020, with all of the racial protests that happened as a result of the killing of George Floyd and so many others of our brothers and sisters. People are on the streets. People are demanding. People are saying, and then you have this response from corporate America, from the educational institutions. Their responses has been what? Oh, we'll put some money towards racial justice. We'll put some money towards social justice. The NFL, the NBA, the MLB, and all of these places. We'll do little of this and we'll do little of that. Did that change the full dynamic? At the time, it sounded all well and good. People were like, victory, victory. Oh my gosh, you got the NFL admitting that they were wrong. You heard the commissioner. Oh man, maybe, Captain was on or something. I wasn't in that mindset. Victory. So at the time, we thought it was victory. 2 years later, look at all of these companies. They gave us breadcrumbs, and some of them didn't even fully. They pledged. Let me just share this with you, folks. They pledged that they would change things. You got one of the largest streaming platforms, Netflix, completely, fired Black women, Latino women, Asian American writers. Which really changed. Police are still killing. We've been talking about Patrick Lyoya. We can't even get policy passed. So when you're talking about the changes, I'm still waiting. It's like a computer still loading. I'm still loading right now. Like, where are the substantive changes that are going to change and improve the quality of life of Black people in this country, the quality of life of poor people in this country? Where are those changes yet? T. Nixon said, what do you think our next best move is to position ourselves in the right direction? T. Nixon, I think that's a huge question. It depends on which space that we're in, whether we're talking about politics, whether we're talking about education, whether we're talking about healthcare, arts and culture. That's a big question. I think that we're brilliant enough and intelligent enough to be able to determine our own fate, right? But here's what I want us to ask. I think that is very, very important. We cannot absolve other people who have done us wrong, absolve them of the responsibility to make things right. I'm gonna say this again, folks. As much as we want to move on and say, you know what, Black people, we're gonna get into a different space. Poor people, we're gonna get into. No, you can't absolve. You can't just totally disregard the fact that if white people, if the government, if anybody who has committed the wrong, they have to make it right. That's the part about, not just about reparations, but that's the part about healing and moving forward. You can't have a move forward and let the person that has done the violation said, I'm sorry. And not only are you saying, I'm sorry, what can I do to make things right? If that doesn't come up in the conversation, and they got to ask you, not tell you, you can't be like, I'm sorry, but here's what I'm going to do, right? No, you got to ask somebody, you got to ask them, okay, If I committed a wrong against you, then I'm in no position to tell you how I'm going to fix your hurt. I have to listen to you so that way you can tell me how to fix my hurt and my pain. I mean, that's just natural. Let me see here. We got a few more minutes. Shalinda, always a faithful watcher, listener, viewer. She's always telling people to check in and to support. She said, whites know that the black peoples were the first in everything, and they're determined to make sure that we're never on top again. They pretend like they don't know about the power of our melanin. Yeah. I think that, and I think that, and for us, we can't, this is not about white supremacy, black supremacy. This is not about those things, because the conversation can get way left. This is about the fact, when I heard, for example, that the racial wealth gap in this country, that in order for black people to catch up to where white people are in terms of the racial wealth gap, you know how long it would take? I've heard scholars and researchers say well over 200 years. I'm not making this up, folks. Y'all can do the research yourself. 200 years? Who has time for that? You know how many generations that is? You know, who has time for that? I mean, if we are talking about getting us on equal footing, there has to be some things that's done en masse that has to happen. En masse. It can't be just, oh, we're going to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. No, we need some stuff done en masse. You need policy. You need institutions to change, right? But the biggest thing, and this is why we have our show, folks, the biggest thing is our thinking, attitudes, which create the culture that we live in. And if we haven't addressed the cultural impact of all of these things, it's like my brother D. Chase, when he came on, remember I was talking to this brother D. Chase about black artists and how we are at a place right now where you see more black artists taking over some of these major award shows, behind the scenes, producers, executive producers, and all of those things. And one of the things that he said that I will never forget, he said, we as black people, we come into white spaces already adjusting to try to fit into that space before it's even said to us that we need to make a change. If we bring our artistry into a space, if we bring our business acumen into a space, if we're going into a room where white people are a part of the conversation, we already are trying to figure out how to make that shift to accommodate to their interests and their needs before it's even asked of us. Before it's even asked of us. And so we're at that place. And he said that is a result of the slavery experience. That is encoded into our DNA that we really have to deal with. That we have to come to the point where we are authentic in everything that we do, in every space that we're in, without shifting, regardless of who's in the space with us. So we have some work to do there. Let me see if we can get a couple of more. And I wanted to let me bring in very quickly, because we got a few moments left. I want to bring in Nir Muhammad, who is advocate, writer, educator, as we have this part of the conversation. And dear, thank you so much for checking in. How are you this evening?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. We're having a special conversation.
I see.
And we're just taking questions from our audience. Just ask me anything. And I love the questions that we've been getting from so many people and just some of the concerns. And as we're having this conversation, a lot of people are bringing up issues of race relations in this country, and obviously so. Black Star Network, Brother Roland has always talked about race relations. We look through the lens of race relations. It's something that we can't necessarily get away from, right?
Yeah.
The previous segment, we talked about the Governor Hogan saying that we have to stand against extremes. He was talking about in the Republican Party. I threw it out there. We could say the same thing about it for the Democratic Party. So we got a lot of polarities that are in existence right now. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on, where do you see us as a people and as a country as we move forward? I know it's a big question, but you and I often talk about these things. So I know you got some things that you're seeing.
Listen,
the face says everything. Thank you for your answer.
No, it's so funny when you meet people and you're talking. And I was talking to another educator today, and it just so happened that we were discussing one of my students, and he was telling me how we both we both used to work at Kennedy Krieger, and we just thought it was really interesting, just the similarities that you find when you start opening up and talking to people. We were really talking about restorative practices in the classroom, and we were talking about how we don't think it's good for the culture. And so we're talking about the culture, and that made me just think about, our culture, as Black people, Black culture. And this was like a big topic for us today amongst some of us Black folk at work. And let me tell you why. Let me back up. A mother broke into the school today to go fight a student. We had a cold blue. Now, mind you, I just talked to my students about the importance of following directions.
To fight some students.
Yes, that's why I was like, when you talk about the culture and what's been on my mind, this is what's been on my mind today, because I've been having a conversation about parts of our culture that I'm actually pretty tired of.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. This was a grown woman. She was she broke into the school, because right now we're not allowing parents into the building. They can come to the office, but that's about it. And when kids are coming in the morning, unless they have a reason to go to the office, students are only allowed in because of situations like this.
Yeah.
The mother was literally in our building trying to find this little girl to fight her, a little girl. And then she was like, get her mother on the phone and tell her mother to get up here so I can fight her. And it's like, wait a minute. Is this how we as Black people are solving our children's issues? You are going up to a school, and this is a child in elementary school. You're trying to fight a child in elementary school as an adult? So, my view of the culture right now is that we need some shifting. We need some healing.
Yeah.
We need to do some shifting of our mindset and just really get back to even being a community, being able to have dialogue with each other without everything turning into violence. And as an educator, it's just so frustrating because I'm dealing with all these things with children. But then when you see parents come to the school and behave that way, you see where they're getting this behavior from, why they act the way they do, why they talk the way they do. So I just want us to take a moment to be realistic, honest with ourselves about areas and spaces within our own culture that we need to change. And we need to change that fast. Because being an adult and coming up to an elementary school and trying to fight a child, and this is not an isolated incident.
Yeah.
This is happening all over the country.
Well,
within the Black community.
Yeah.
And we really got to do better.
It's an ongoing thing. We're going to take a quick pause. It's an ongoing thing. And if people really understood the dynamics and some of the challenges that you face as an educator each and every day, from the children to adults, right? And the system, quote on, we're going to just lump everything under the system. If people really understood that, then it's a reason why we need to appreciate teachers this week.
Yes, it is Teacher Appreciation Week. You're right. It is.
Right. That's why we got to appreciate teachers, man. Because y'all go through hell. Y'all catching hell.
And we're always blamed for everything.
Always blamed. And look, you would be proud of me because, when we started off on Monday, we talked about Teacher Appreciation Week. I was like, don't offer no teacher no damn free cup of coffee, a free meal. Oh, here's a bonus for being thank you. Paid them. Paid them.
So you do. Okay. The funny thing about that is, like, yesterday they had like coffee and like egg sandwiches.
I know schools across the country
for teachers.
Paid them.
And then they fed us today. They had a catered meal for us, and I could not eat anything because of my celiac disease, and so we're still not thinking about vegans or people with celiac. So we got a long way to go, but
no,
it is what
everybody's
it
still
is.
thinking this is 1985.
Everyone eats the same thing.
Everybody
Come on,
eats
get
the
this
same
jerk
thing.
chicken,
Nobody's
fried
different
fish,
diets.
mac and cheese. I was like, is there anything gluten free? They're like the kale salad. I was like,
the kale salad.
Okay, I'm gonna take that.
You want me to wait my whole day for a damn kale salad? All right.
I did.
Hey, look, we don't go away. Obviously, up next. We're going to talk about. We're going to have a conversation about education in this country. We're going to have a very special guest, Dory Taylor from Remake Learning Days Across America, where they are doing some special post-pandemic learning experiences in 17 regions across this country. We're going to have a conversation with Ms. Taylor about that. We'll continue the conversation with Nira Muhammad, and of course, continue to take your questions from you. Folks, stay with us. We got a lot to get you in the final 30 of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches! Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
Folks, it is Teacher Appreciation Week, and I told you that we're going to do our part to make sure that we acknowledge all of the great work that educators are doing and the great challenges that they're facing. And this is why we wanted to have a conversation about what does it mean to have a post-pandemic educational experience. My next guest is here to give us some insight about the work that they're doing as they're doing Remaking Learning Days across America. Now, this is a educational experience that was going to be featured in 17 regions across the country. and it's going to be a way to change the culture and the structure of how we get children to learn. So I'm so happy to have Ms. Dory Taylor to talk more to us about this initiative and continue the conversation about education with our culture crew member, educator Nira Muhammad. Dory, thank you so much for checking in. How are you feeling this afternoon?
Mr. Muhammad, thanks for having me. I'm feeling really good.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation.
Great to hear a little bit about Nira. And,
yes,
where
Nira,
she's
doing some great
so I'm
things.
glad I
definitely,
caught that.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. Black girl magic, Dory. What can
That's
I say?
Right. That's right. Go, Nira.
So first and foremost, this is Remake Learning Across America.
Yeah.
This is a big undertaking. Break it down to us like we 4th and 5th graders here, Dory. Talk to us about what the work is all about.
Well, this is a learning festival. We say it's the world's largest innovative, hands-on learning festival. And we are in 17 regions, as you mentioned, 4 weeks long. It actually kicked off April 22nd and runs through May 23rd. And we're shining a light on educators. So educators in the classroom like Nira, educators in out of school time spaces, librarians, museum educators, university professionals, and really answering the question, what if all of us were learning allies for our kids? What if we were all working together, striving to do right for these kids and for parents and grandparents and all the caregivers? So we know learning happens, of course, traditionally in the classroom, in the school building, but we know it also happens in our neighborhoods, at the church, at the barbershop, at the library. So we want to celebrate and elevate all the educators in our communities.
So you're doing it in a big way. First and foremost, I want to bring Nira. Let's bring her back into the conversation because this is very important to her. But Dory, I love how you just put us in a category calling us learning allies.
I love that. Sure.
That's a very that's a new term that I'm not familiar with. And so for me and for others who may not be familiar, what does that actually mean?
Sure. Well, that came out of Remake Learning Days, which started actually in Pittsburgh. So if we have any Pittsburgh fans out there, it started in Pittsburgh, southwestern PA, in the Remake Learning Network. In 2007, all these educators came together to say, we have something special here between the teachers and the university professionals and professors and the roboticists at the universities, Carnegie Mellon, Pitt. We have something special, and we're really teaching kids in this region in this new technological age. So like the iPhone came out in 2007. So kids are, not going to the library and using the card catalog. They're using, they're going and they're Googling, and maybe now their reports they're going to do a little video and add that into their report. So it's really showing that learning and innovation are evolving and changing. And that's all great when you have educators and teachers who are on board, but you got to get the grandparents on board. You got to get the big brother, big sister. You have to get the uncles and aunties on board. So it's a big undertaking. And we know that there are lots of cities across America who get this and are showcasing this. And anyone can have a festival or hold a festival, but we're just trying to uplift as many communities as possible. And we've had communities sign on and find us here in Pittsburgh and say, hey, we want to join you in this collective conversation, across social media, across radio shows, in newsprint. And we want to showcase what our city is doing, what our town is doing, and how we all are coming together, again, as learning allies. So we are all supporting in the learning that happens with our kids in urban communities, in rural communities, and suburban. So everyone learns. And what are the ways that kids are learning? Sometimes we see that it has to be relevant. It has to be culturally relevant for some kids to catch on. You know, it has to be hands-on, tactile.
No, these are 1,300 events that have been that you, like you mentioned, it started back in April. It will continue all the way up until May 23rd. 1,300 events that are happening across the country. And look, check this out, folks. I mean, this is big. This is big. Dory, and then I'm gonna let Nira do the talking because I know she got a lot to say on this topic. But Dory, you know, what is the stance of remaking learning? Is it that children are coming into the classroom, coming into the educational space, having various needs, and then that we need to be more cognizant of their needs? I mean, you talked about innovation. What is the biggest innovative element of this program?
Well, I mean, we're seeing, you know, we open this up to what we call event hosts. So anyone can open their doors to youth and families to come in and take a look at how they're educating youth. It's a good opportunity for schools to say, okay, this is what we've been doing since August or September. You know, we're doing our STREAM or STEAM or science or arts or maker night for families. So come as a parent. You don't need to break into the school. Come to the school.
Come on now.
And we're going to show you what we've been doing with your child over the last 9 months. We, you know, feature arts, maker, outdoor learning, science, technology, youth voice, and some career ready events. And it's from pre-K through 12th grade. So we're really trying to showcase all types of learning, hoping that something is going to, you know, reach a kid and they're going to find their passion because they were able to code a robot, you know, with grandma. We're going to
grandma coding robots.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, grandma.
And we had,
well, you know, grandma's like 50 years old these days, so.
You got that. You got that.
Great grandma 60.
Stop it. Time out. You want a time out?
I'm sorry, Dory.
No, I was going to let me throw in some research. We had the Global Family Research Project take a look at Remake Learning Days over the years. Again, from the inception in Pittsburgh in 2016 as a festival to now across America. And they, you know, interviewed event hosts who said, it was our pleasure to open our doors and let families experience how we teach. It was our pleasure to watch youth and their caregiver, you know, do hands-on learning together, side by side. And from the parents' point of view or the mentor point of view, they didn't get embarrassed if they didn't know how to use Scratch to code. They didn't get embarrassed if they were, you know, trying to write their own rap song using their own lyrics and poetry. It was just a pure learning experience that was joyful with the kid in their life. So that's all. Like it's something that hopefully every person can get behind. You know, this is a festival again across the country, 17 regions, and everyone. There shouldn't be anything controversial about showing different ways of learning and you know what that means in all settings and places and spaces, and celebrating every neighborhood and its resources.
Nira, I'm giving you the platform. Go ahead, run with it.
No, I mean, I think this is really great. I can, you know, contest to that. Like, I've actually been a host of multiple events like that. I'll actually be hosting Monday and Tuesday in our community, an art event. So I host art events and STEM events. So that's really funny. I actually do that. I'm going into schools for 2 years to do STEM and STEAM events with students and then families. We kind of actually call it back to school night, or we'll have parent night or family night. And it really is great, you know, to see moms, you know, their kids teaching them how to use a DC motor or LED lights. I mean, it really is something. It gives the children another layer of pride in what they're doing, pride in what they're learning, pride in even being able to showcase what they've learned to their parents. And then on the parent side, there's so much pride for them to say, you know, my baby helped me make this drawbot, you know, and then we create this art together from creating a robot that can draw. So, you know, even something that's small festers into something so big, as you mentioned, because from that one activity, you've created a scientist, an engineer, and that's something that they can take with them and build upon as they get older. So I think that what you guys are doing is absolutely great. I think that every district should be on board with this, and maybe they are, and they're just calling it something different. Because I know here we have those we have like back to school festivals where we showcase. We have a STEM station, art stations, and all that stuff. Right. But I love the idea of the parents actually coming into the school, coming into the classroom, and seeing the space that their students are in, and not just on the back to school nights, because you know we always have them like at the beginning of the school year. But I feel like that's pre they filled up the walls with all their amazing work. So to have something at the end of the year, that's new to me. I haven't seen that, so I think that's really cool for them to actually be able to come into the classroom and even just to be able to sit there. Personally, I miss take your parent to school day. Because it's nice to just be able to have a parent like come in and just actually experience what the child's day is like. I know even for me as a child growing up, I don't know if they did that in Baltimore, Farajii, but I kind of went to elementary school in Arizona. And that was something that we did. Like my mom came to school for an entire day with me. And I thought it was the absolute coolest thing in the world. Like I wasn't embarrassed. She wasn't embarrassed. In fact, everyone liked my mom. So that made me like, I got cool points.
Your mom wasn't better than mine. Just joking. But
but you literally just heard what I was saying, like the disconnect between parents, students, and school. It's so major, and it's become such a detriment to learning environment. I am 100% behind this. In fact, I want to like forward, you know, you guys' email, I mean, your website right on over to my principal, because I think it's so beautiful. Like we have two parents fighting in the school, and one was, I don't know, she got her clothes wound up being off, and she's running around the school with no clothes. Like these things are happening in our schools, and we really got to find a way to bridge the gap between families and schools and like become one community again, because we really, really all want the same thing: to see these children go on to become successful adults.
Yep. And Dorian, when you're talking about, to Neera's point, I mean, when you're talking about bringing all these kind of like, you know, stakeholders together, and to start the conversation of rethinking, reimagining what education would look like. You know, Neera and I talk about it, and I've talked about it here on the show all the time. You know, we had a whole discussion about pandemic learning, how after 2 years, you know, third graders and preschoolers and first and second graders and even up to third grade, like they did not have certain skills. They didn't have fine motor skills. They couldn't tie their shoe. I mean, their whole the life skills were just thrown off as a result.
I was teaching one of my third graders how to tie their shoes today. That's this, like you literally just said that. There's one that I tie her shoes for her every day, and we've been working on her shoes, and another one today. I didn't even know that he didn't know how to tie his shoes until today.
Wow.
Well, one of our regional leaders of the festival is in Philly, Demetrius Roberts, and we've had this discussion about learning loss. Like, yes, learning loss is real. It is a thing. Some skills were lost, and especially for those most in need of the hookup of internet or of having computers. But there was also learning found in other aspects of life. So
I agree. I think we all learned a certain level of resiliency too during that time. You know, things that we thought, like at the beginning, I cannot do this. Even as educators, you know, we were having meltdowns too with technology, with how am I going to teach online? We did it. We did it. And we were as successful as we could be, or, you know, the effort that you put into it, is in some ways the effort that you get back. And you find ways to be creative. And then that comes into like, how creative are you? It took time for us to like, how creative can I be? How can I make my morning meeting just as fun virtually as I would in the classroom? You have to really tap into your own creativity. And I think that was one of the reasons that made me want to become an educator, the creative spark, the creative side of me. So to me, you know, we did learn a lot of things. And I mean, I didn't know how to teach virtually before, you know, COVID, and now I do. So that's a skill learned. And the kids are learning skills as well, how to type. And, you know, they're getting even better with using the iPads and so many other things. As you mentioned, technology is a big thing now. So they were able to do more coding because they were able to spend more time. You know, now every child, for the most part, has a laptop or an iPad from their school. And so those, like, there's more access now to the technology that they were lacking before, because we found the money to make sure the kids got those computers and those iPads that we couldn't find pre-COVID, you know?
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, there are some great things that have come out of it.
Some learning found. Yeah. And I'm also seeing, I lost him. But also seeing, again, more culturally relevant teaching happening and events, you know, speaking to, you know, these events are for Black girls and they're finding their voice. Finding events that are, you know, on mental health, and come out and do art and making and talk with your family members about mental health. So we're seeing a lot of those events.
Food and nutrition, for sure.
And Dory, to also add, you know, in terms of, you know, how Remake Learning Days across America is addressing some of the disparity in education from this vantage point. We had a conversation here on the show talking about the number of, or the lack of Black male teachers. And we discussed the fact that, you know, when you look across the educational landscape in this country, only Black male teachers only make up about 2% of the teaching staff and personnel. Is Remake Learning Days across America, are you guys like emphasizing certain things to happen in the educational system as much as you're providing these opportunities?
I would say no. We are uplifting and highlighting in that respect those champions in the community.
Okay.
You know, there are Black men in the community who are teachers and leaders. So we're emphasizing those programs that exist and having more access. You know, we're shining a light. We're saying, you know, check out this leader, check out their content, and come find them during Remake Learning Days across America, and maybe hook up with them over the summer, or they can be in your arsenal of resources.
Right.
So, but I know that is such a big topic of having Black male teachers, and that certainly is a topic here in Pittsburgh and out of the University of Pittsburgh. So there's work being done really to even take high school students and have them on this pathway, Black high school students, to becoming educators and teachers. Right. So that's certainly the big conversation here in Pittsburgh. And just through this festival, you know, by all means, we're trying to showcase the resources that exist, you know, even if these are not quote unquote professional educators or teachers.
No,
there's some teaching and learning going on.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Farajii, were those numbers for actual like certified teachers? Because I can say across Baltimore City, and I can't speak for every city, there are a lot of Black men and just men in general that work in our schools. A lot of them are not in the teacher capacity though.
Right.
They work in a lot of the mental health capacities. Yeah. They work with the behavioral team. So they are there, and they are, oh my gosh, they're amazing. So shout out to all the Black male educators and male educators in general, because they've been extremely, extremely helpful. But I'm curious, because there's such a disconnect with male teachers in general, but I'm also curious if that has anything to do with salary. And that's probably another conversation.
It is.
But even just like talking to a lot of men may not even be willing to like settle for the salary that teachers get, whereas we women are a little bit, you know, we look past salary often as educators because of that nurturing side of us. And I'm just curious if that's part of the disconnect between Black males.
It's interesting that you brought that up, because that was one of the factors that the salaries aren't competitive in a lot of states. to the
Gotcha.
eyes of these men.
There you
So,
go.
so
Yeah.
if you're
We
a
women are just
teacher,
like, I want to teach,
right? Like
get
if
the
you're
money.
a teacher, $45,000 or $50,000,
Yeah, a lot of men are, they're like, what? Yeah,
right?
I can't provide for a family
and
with
you
that.
have a family to take care of, right? It's like you have to have a different conversation with your family, saying that, look, this is a passion, but my passion at this point, like, of course I can get certified and get, go up the scale, but that is a huge part of it. That is but there have been a number of studies, and we talked to one of our cultural correspondents, Owen Adedoyan. She did she looked at a number of studies and found it was salary that has been a huge factor in getting men into the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an ongoing thing. And Dory, I'm really excited that we had a chance to at least just shed a light on the work that Remake Learning Days across America is doing. I mean, folks, this is a month's festival, 1,300 events, 17 regions. A lot of people are going to be touched as a result of all of this work that RLDAA is doing. And, it's exciting. I'm happy to hear that there's some innovation. I'm happy to hear that there's STEM, of course, is going to be a part of it. It has been. And then it's asking for community partners, not just people inside the schools, but outside of the schools. I mean, these are all of the, Near and I talk about this often, but these are all of the components that you need to make a successsul education experience. So, Dory, we appreciate you so much for doing this.
Thank you. And as Nira said, Nira's doing it. I mean, there's so many educators already doing this and doing it. And so
we're trying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just need to get paid more.
But Farajii, I celebrate you because you're doing it as well. You started your own radio show. I mean, back in the day.
Oh my gosh!
So
why you call me out like that, Dory?
Wait.
This is it. This is there are teenagers who are like, I want to do what he's doing. So we have a number of events at radio stations and with youth and radio. So they're going to be.
Hey,
up
look,
there.
let me just tell you something. Look, we can have a conversation offline. Black Star Network, the culture is all about being in the streets. Okay. So yes.
Yeah, put him to work.
Hey, look, the culture is all about being in the street. So we will be loved. I would love to have a conversation. And, Nira will certainly advise me on the best ways to do it and the best manner to do it. So I'm all for it. So, but I'm really excited.
Always making a Black woman work.
Oh, yeah, all the time. But I'm really excited, Dory, and I thank you so much for your time with us today. How can people get more information about the work you're doing?
My pleasure. Go to the website, remakelearningdays.org, and take a look at all the 17 regions. And now we're up to, I think, over 1,400 events. So get there. Check out the website. Find events. The majority are in person, but we have over 100, maybe 110 that are virtual. So you can tune into the Smithsonian Museum virtually. You can tune in to several events. Absolutely. But there are events in the DMV for anyone out there in the DMV area. Mm-hmm.
And how about the West Coast?
We just actually wrapped up with San Diego County having a festival. So that just wrapped up. We wrapped up, oh my gosh, a few festivals. So San Diego County, Badgerland, Wisconsin, Eastern Kentucky, done. Suncoast, Florida is going on, and we're about to kick off. And Kansas City, Missouri, Chattanooga, and Knoxville, Tennessee, and West Virginia.
Oh, hitting
all across the state, Pennsylvania. And then we'll hit up Chicago, Greater Cincinnati, and the DMV.
Awesome.
Nice. That's amazing.
Awesome. That is awesome. Right. Dory Taylor, we truly appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And we would love to bring you back on as, once y'all wrap up the festival. I'm sure you got some other things planned on the agenda for the rest of the year. We would certainly be open to continuing to shine a light on the great work that you're doing. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Great to see you and meet you.
Nice meeting you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Folks, again, remakelearningdays.org to get more information. What can I say? Education. Teacher Appreciation Week. Did you give your favorite educator an apple? I'm just letting people know. Did you get or an apple pie?
What is the correlation with the apple?
Might work.
We like wine. We like wine. Preferably red or Prosecco. No, we don't like Moscato.
It's like no, we don't do apples no more unless it's a hard apple cider.
Isn't it beverage?
We can have a hard apple cider.
A hard cider.
I appreciate you, dear. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, thank you for being so good for the culture.
Anytime.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank each and every one of you for being a part of the conversation. Thank you for checking in with us for my Ask Me Anything segment. We're going to do more of that, try to get more of your questions and more of your concerns, and let's continue to engage each other. That's why I got my social media right there. You see it? There it is right there, folks. My social media, boom, boom, boom. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, all of those things. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's not just about getting followers. It's about engaging you in a way that is going to be beneficial and that's going to be fulfilling. So make sure you take advantage of that. Plus, of course, the best way to engage us is supporting us here at blackstarnetwork.com. Look, this show and many of the other great programs that we have on the network cannot happen unless you put your eyes on the screen. Or as you heard from our dear brother in our commercial, bring your eyes home. Folks, Black Star Network, it is officially here. Boom. And we want you to continue to support us financially. If you can't support us financially, make sure that anytime you get a notification on YouTube or on Facebook, make sure that you share. You make sure you like, make sure you pass it on to your family and friends, and let everybody know you can download for free blackstarnetwork.com on your phone, your tablet, or on your smart TV. Boom, look at that. Look at that. That's how it pops up on TV. You see that face looking all serious? That's me. All right, so make sure you check us out at blackstarnetwork.com. I want to thank my fantastic team. I want to thank my man Keenan, thank Shannon and Joel, and I thank all of our Culture Crew contributors today, Nakia Glad and Nir Muhammad, and I thank you for being a part of the conversation. Stay tuned. 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is Roland Martin Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Peace.